The end of the world does not begin with a mushroom cloud or an air raid siren. It begins with a scrolling news ticker at the bottom of a muted television screen while you are eating leftover takeout. The headline is boring. It speaks of a localized outbreak of aggressive encephalitis in a regional hospital. You ignore it because you have seen this movie before, or so you think. You believe the authorities handle these things. You believe in the buffer of bureaucracy. But looking out the window of your fourth-floor Berlin apartment, the streetlights flicker on a city that is already dead. It just hasn't stopped moving yet. Most people define the apocalypse by the moment the screaming starts. That is a fatal error. By the time you hear the first scream, the mathematical probability of your survival has already dropped by 60%. The apocalypse starts in the silence before the noise. It starts when the ambulance sirens, usually distinct and rhythmic, merge into a singular, unending wail that does not Doppler away. That is where we are starting today. Not with the bite, but with the realization that the lock on your door is the only thing separating you from a new biological imperative. Welcome back to the curriculum. I am Dr. Eris. Today, we are dissecting week 1 of a Class 4 reanimation event. Specifically, we are looking at the urban containment failure. Most survival discussions focus on the gear, the knife, the backpack, the water filter. This is tactical vanity. The primary threat in the first 48 hours is not the infected. It is your own cognitive normalcy bias. You will watch a video on your social feed of a nurse biting the throat out of an orderly, and your brain will try to categorize it as a prank, a movie shoot, or a deep fake. This hesitation is the filter that separates the survivors from the calories. We are going to walk through the timeline of a mid-rise apartment siege. We will strip away the Hollywood heroics and look at the physics of mass, the logistics of water pressure, and the psychology of guilt. Because when the grid goes down, you are not fighting for your life. You are fighting so your daughter does not have to watch you turn into the thing she fears most. Before the network congestion hits and the cellular towers go dark, you need to make a decision. Are you a spectator or a participant? The information we discuss here is theoretical until the moment it becomes historical. If you want to ensure you have access to the full archive of survival protocols, including the specific heavy urban fortification guides we cannot air on public channels, secure your spot in the survival curriculum now. The link is in the description. Do it while the internet still works. Once the servers go offline, all you have is what is in your head. Now, let us look at the timeline. Day 0. The infection vector has breached the containment protocols at the Charité Hospital. The clock is ticking. It is day 1. The coffee is still warm. You are scrolling through a feed that has become a kaleidoscope of panic. There is a video from a subway station, shaky, vertical footage. A commuter is tackling a police officer. No, not tackling. Eating. The crowd isn't running, they are filming. They are holding up phones like talismans, as if the screen protects them from the reality of tearing flesh. In your apartment complex, the elevator dings. It is a normal sound, but today it carries a sudden, irrational weight. You hear Mrs. Schmidt from 3B yelling at someone in the hallway. Usually, she yells about recycling bins. Today, her voice has a pitch of terror that pricks the hair on your arms. You check the news sites. Civil unrest. Riot police deployed. They are using euphemisms to prevent panic, which is ironically causing more of it. You check your phone signal. 2 bars. Then 1. Then network busy. This is the first fracture. The modern human is an organism connected to a hive mind. When that connection is severed, when you cannot refresh the page to see if the world is still there, the isolation hits you harder than the fear. Most people remember the CDC's Preparedness 101 Zombie Apocalypse campaign as a clever marketing stunt, a comic book, a joke. But now, That PDF is the only thing you can remember. The tragedy is that the masses treat the outbreak like a weather event. They go to the grocery store. This is the single most dangerous action you can take on day one. You think you need bread and milk. What you are actually doing is walking into a high-density kill box. Panic is a contagion faster than the virus. In the supermarket aisle, people are not queuing, they are vibrating with aggression. You see a man punch a teenager over a crate of water. This is not the zombie threat, this is the breakdown of the social contract. If you are outside your apartment on day one trying to buy toilet paper, you have already failed the IQ test. The infected are drawn to noise and movement. A riot over resources is the loudest dinner bell you can ring. You need to be inside, door locked, while the rest of the city tears itself apart over pasta sauce. Now, the rational part of your brain is screaming in objection. You are thinking, the police are militarized. The Bundeswehr or the National Guard will step in. They have tanks. They have body armor. A shambling corpse cannot defeat a coordinated tactical unit. This is the Steelman argument, and on paper it is correct. In a symmetrical war, the military wins. But this is not a war, it is a mathematical cascade. Police are trained for compliance or suppression. They shout, "Stop!" and expect hesitation. The infected do not hesitate. When an officer is bitten in the chaotic scrum of a riot line, he doesn't go to a field hospital. He turns behind the shield wall. The police line collapses from the inside out. Furthermore, look at the math. In a city of 3 million, there are perhaps 10,000 active duty responders. If the infection rate is exponential, the responders are outnumbered 500 to 1 within 48 hours. They cannot secure the city. They will secure themselves, the government seats, and the high-value infrastructure. Your apartment block is not high value. You are not on the list. When you dial 112 or 911 and get a busy signal, realise that the cavalry is not coming, because the cavalry has already been eaten. Let us address the specific nature of this threat. Aggressive encephalitis. This isn't the slow, shuffling death of cinema. This is a swelling of the brain that induces rage before it induces death. The infected in the early stages are not rotting. They are sprinting on adrenaline and fever. They still have muscle memory. They can turn doorknobs. They can smash glass with rocks, not because they understand tool use, but because they are thrashing violently. This changes your defensive posture. A standard lock is insufficient against a human body throwing itself at the wood with zero regard for pain or injury. A zombie that does not feel its shoulder dislocate will batter down a door that would stop a sane human. The noise they make, the guttural, wet screaming of a throat stripping itself raw, is designed to trigger your flight response. But you cannot fly. You are in an apartment. You are trapped in a box in the sky, and the stairwell is filling up with things that used to be your neighbours. Day 2. The screams outside are constant now, a background static of horror. You look at your front door. It's a standard European apartment door, solid wood, thank God, not the hollow core cardboard used in American suburbs. But the frame is just wood and plaster. You realise that if 3 bodies push against it, the deadbolt will hold, but the frame will splinter. You need mass. You look at your bookshelf, the heavy IKEA Kallax filled with art books and vinyl records. You tip it over. It lands with a thud that shakes the floor, a noise you instantly regret. You drag it. It screams against the laminate. You push it against the door. It's not enough. You add the sofa. You wedge chairs under the handle. You are not just locking the door, you are changing the architectural geometry of the entrance. You are turning a portal into a wall. Your hands are shaking, not from exertion, but from the adrenaline crash. You look at the peephole, now blocked by your own furniture. You have blinded yourself to the hallway. This is the trade-off: security for blindness. You sit in the hallway, back against the bookshelf, feeling the vibrations of footsteps running past. Are they running away? Or are they running towards you? While you were building your wall, you forgot the most critical resource: water. The municipal water pumps run on electricity. The grid is flickering. When the power fails, the pumps stop. The water towers have gravity pressure, but that will drain in hours as 1 million panicked citizens turn on their taps simultaneously. You run to the bathroom. You don't have fancy jerry cans, you have a bathtub. You scrub it out. Hygiene is critical. You don't want to die of dysentery during the apocalypse. And plug it. You turn the tap on full blast. The pressure is already weak. It sputters. Brown silt shoots out first. Sediment from the bottom of the clearing tanks. You let it run until it clears, then you fill everything. The tub, the sink, cooking pots, Tupperware, Ziploc bags. This isn't just about first. This is about the guilt of looking at your partner in 2 days when their lips are cracked and bleeding and having to tell them you wasted the last of the city's lifeblood because you were too busy refreshing Twitter. Fill the tub. Cover it with plastic wrap to keep dust and bacteria out. That is your life now. 70 gallons of tepid water. You have water. You have a barricade. Now you have a new enemy. Sound. In a high-density apartment block, sound travels through the concrete skeleton of the building. You hear the couple upstairs arguing. You hear the dog barking 3 floors down. Every noise is a beacon. The infected navigate by auditory triangulation. If you drop a pan in your kitchen, you are essentially firing a flare gun. You have to enforce silence. This is where the emotional toll hits. If you have children, how do you make them understand they cannot cry? How do you explain that playing with a loud toy could kill the family? You don't threaten them, you terrify them. It is cruel, but necessary. You whisper. You walk in socks. You create a safe room in the interior of the flat, away from the windows. You take blankets over the windows, not just for light discipline, but to dampen the acoustics. You are turning your home into a submarine running silent. You listen to the chaos in the stairwell, the scratching, the moaning, and you realise that the silence is the only armour you have left. Day 3. The banging starts. It's not the rhythmic, mindless battering of the dead. It's frantic. It's human. "Please, open the door! I know you're in there!" It's Mr. Weber from down the hall. You know him. He watered your plants when you went on holiday. He has a cat. He sounds terrified. He sounds injured. This is the moral event horizon. Your barricade is heavy. It would take 10 minutes to dismantle it. In that time, the noise would draw the things from the lower floors. But even if you could open it, do you? Mr. Weber might be bitten. He might be carrying the pathogen. Or he might just be loud. If you let him in, you are consuming your limited resources and introducing a variable you cannot control. If you leave him there, you are listening to him die. You sit on the other side of the bookshelf, tears streaming down your face, hands over your ears. You hear him sobbing. Then you hear the wet slap of bare feet on concrete. Then the struggle. Then the silence. The silence is worse than the screaming. You have survived, but you have sold a piece of your humanity to buy another day of breathing. Let's talk about the unglamorous reality of siege warfare. Sanitation. You have water in the tub, so you cannot use the toilet. You cannot flush. If you flush, you waste precious water, and if the sewer lines are backed up or damaged, you might get a backflow of toxic sludge into your pristine fortress. You need a bucket. You need heavy-duty trash bags. You need cat litter or sawdust if you have it, soil from your houseplants if you don't. This is the 2-bucket system. One for liquids, one for solids. Separation is key to reducing smell and bacterial growth. You seal the bags. You tape them shut. You store them in the furthest corner of the balcony or a sealed room. Why does this matter? Because cholera and dysentery have killed more people in sieges than bullets ever have. If your apartment smells like death, you will get sick. If you get sick, you get dehydrated. If you get dehydrated, you make mistakes. And in this environment, a mistake is a death sentence. You are not a warrior. You are a waste management technician with a pulse. I can hear the comments section already. Why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you drive to the countryside, to the cabin, to the mountains? This is the evacuation fallacy. Everyone has the same idea. Berlin has a population of 3.6 million. There are 4 main autobahns leading out. Do the math. On day 1, those roads became parking lots. Then the infection hit the traffic jam. Now those highways are linear graveyards. Thousands of cars trapped, with infected moving from vehicle to vehicle like a buffet line. If you are in a car, you are in a glass coffin. You cannot maneuver. You cannot run. You run out of fuel. You freeze. Staying in your apartment is counterintuitive because we are taught to run from danger. But in a pandemic event, distance is not safety. Isolation is safety. Your apartment is a concrete bunker. The highway is an open field. By day 3, anyone who tried to leave is either dead, infected, or walking back to the city, because the countryside is not magical. It is just a place with fewer resources and no walls. You made the right choice to stay. It just feels like a prison. Day 4. The power is gone. The lights didn't flicker, they just ceased. The silence of the refrigerator compressor stopping is deafening. Now the building is truly dark. You risk a look through the peephole, shifting a book slightly. The hallway is dim, lit only by the emergency exit signs running on backup batteries, casting a sickly green glow. You see them. The infected are not just wandering, they are clustering. They have congregated at the stairwell doors. Why? Because the acoustics of a stairwell act like a funnel. Every footstep from survivors on the upper floors echoes down. The zombies are drawn to the choke points. They are banging against the fire doors. This is a critical observation. The architecture that was designed to save you from fire, the sealed stairwells, the heavy doors, is now the only thing holding back the horde. But it also means you are cut off. The stairs are no longer an exit, they are a pressurized column of the dead. You are not on the 4th floor anymore, you are on an island in a sea of monsters. Hunger is starting to set in. Real hunger, not the "I missed lunch" feeling. It's the gnawing anxiety of scarcity. You look at your pantry. You have cans of beans, pasta, some chocolate. You need to ration. But you need to ration smartly. Most people starve themselves immediately to save food. This is wrong. In the first week, you are under high stress. Your cortisol is spiking. You are moving heavy furniture. Your brain needs glucose to make tactical decisions. If you starve yourself now, you will become lethargic and stupid. Eat the perishable food first. The meat in the freezer that is starting to thaw. Cook it all on your gas stove while the residual gas pressure lasts. Have a feast on day 4. Keep your morale high. Save the shelf-stable dry goods for next week. And watch your family. If your child is listless, they aren't just sad, they are hypoglycemic. Feed them. A crying, hungry child is a noise risk. A full child is a quiet child. Food is not just fuel, it is a sedative. Day 5. You venture to the window. You crawl on the floor to avoid casting a silhouette. You peek through the slats of the blind. The street below is unrecognizable. It's not just the wrecked cars or the bodies, it's the movement. The horde behaviour has emerged. They aren't individuals anymore. They move like a fluid. A car alarm goes off 3 blocks away, probably a battery shorting out. You watch the entire street pivot, hundreds of them turning in unison, flowing toward the noise. They trample the slower ones. It's a biological tide. You see a survivor on a rooftop across the street. He is waving a flag. He is screaming for help. You watch as the heads of the infected snap up. They can't reach him, but they congregate at the base of his building. They are shaking the doors. They are piling up. You realize the horror of the World War Z mechanic. They are climbing on each other. Not by design, but by volume. The survivor stops waving. He realizes what he has done. He has summoned the siege to his doorstep. You let the blind snap shut. You do not wave back. You are not a soldier. You do not have a rifle. You are a civilian in a European apartment. You have kitchen knives, but a knife is a terrible weapon against a zombie. To use a knife, you have to be within biting range. You have to stab through the skull, which is incredibly hard bone, or sever the brainstem. You are more likely to get the blade stuck and lose your weapon and your hand. You need reach. You need blunt force. Look at your mop, your broom. Duct tape a heavy kitchen knife to the end of the mop handle? No, that's a spear, and spears get stuck. Instead, look for mass. A heavy wrench, a hammer. But the best weapon is the architecture. If something comes through that barricade, you don't fight it in the open hallway. You funnel it. You trip it. You use the narrow confines of your apartment to limit their numbers, one at a time. But let's be honest, if they breach the barricade, your improvised spear isn't going to save you. Your survival depends on the barricade holding. The weapon is a psychological crutch to make you feel less helpless. Day 6. Nobody talks about the smell. The media focuses on the visuals, but the olfactory assault is what breaks people. It is summer. The power is out. There is no air conditioning. Outside, thousands of bodies are decomposing in the heat. The sewer systems are backing up. The garbage is rotting. The air is thick, sweet, and cloying. It permeates your apartment. It sticks to your clothes. You cannot escape it. It triggers a primal gag reflex. It makes it hard to eat. It makes it hard to sleep. You soak a rag in vinegar or perfume and tie it around your face. It helps, but only a little. This smell is the scent of a dying civilization. It is a constant reminder of what is waiting for you outside. You have to fight the urge to open a window for fresh air. There is no fresh air. There is only the miasma. You must adapt to it. If you vomit, you lose water. Do not vomit. The threat is no longer just outside. It is inside the room. It is the boredom, the claustrophobia, the terror. You look at your family. They look like strangers. Your partner is staring at the wall, catatonic. Your child is asking when the iPad will work again. The stress is fracturing your small group. You snap at them. Be quiet. The anger comes from fear, but it sounds like hatred. This is where the siege is lost, not by the zombie breaking in, but by the survivors breaking down. You have to manufacture hope. You have to create a routine. At 10 a.m, we check the water. At 11 a.m, we read a book. At 12 p.m, we eat. You need structure to replace the chaos. You touch them, hug them. Not just for comfort, but to remind yourself that they are warm, living tissue, not the cold meat outside. If you lose the connection to the people you are protecting, you lose the motivation to keep the door shut. You will find yourself staring at the barricade, wondering if it's easier to just let it all end. That thought is the virus. Fight it. Day 7. It happens. Not at your door, but the apartment next to yours. You hear the wood splintering. The screaming is brief. Then the shuffling. They are in the hallway. They are sniffing at your door. They can smell you. They can smell the living. You see the doorknob turn. Slowly. Then it rattles. A body slams against the wood. Your bookshelf groans. A book falls off the top. A thunderclap in the silence. The slamming intensifies. One zombie, then two. They are scratching at the wood. This is the test of your work on day 2. You back away into your inner safe room, the windowless bathroom or the closet. You take your family with you. You have a second barrier. You hold the hammer, your knuckles white. You listen to the creatures dissecting your living room. They are knocking over your photos. They are destroying the life you built. But they are not finding you. Not yet. You hold your breath until your lungs burn. Eventually, the noise stops. They lose interest. They wander back into the hallway. You are alive, but your perimeter has been breached. You are no longer living in an apartment. You are living in a cell within a dungeon. You have survived week 1. Let's audit your status. You have consumed 40% of your water. You have eaten the perishable food. The waste buckets are full and reek. Your mental health is fraying. But look at the statistics. 90% of the population is dead or infected. By simply sitting in the dark and doing nothing, you have entered the top 10% of the human species. This is the lesson. Survival is not about combat. It is about patience. It is about suffering quietly. The zombies outside are starting to slow down. Rigor mortis is setting in. They are dehydrating. The initial chaotic explosion is over. Now begins the long rot. You cannot stay in this apartment forever. Eventually, the water will run out. Eventually, the fire in the building down the street will spread to yours. But you didn't need to survive forever. You just needed to survive the crash. You have bought yourself time. Time to plan the breakout. Time to wait for the herd to migrate. The person you were 7 days ago is dead. That person cared about credit scores, emails, and social standing. That person died the moment the power went out. The person standing in the dark, holding a hammer, smelling of sweat and vinegar, that is the survivor. You have shed the luxury of the modern world and returned to the factory settings of the human animal. You exist to protect your pack. Nothing else matters. The guilt you felt about not opening the door for Mr. Weber? It will haunt you, yes. But your daughter is alive. That is the transaction. You trade your sleep for their breath. The curriculum is not just about tips and tricks. It is about accepting this transaction. It is about understanding that civilization was just a thin veneer over the biology of eat or be eaten. You have seen what is under the mask now. You can never unsee it. Week 2 brings a new set of problems. Fire, disease, and the most dangerous predator of all. Other survivors who didn't prepare, who are now desperate, and who have guns. Your bookshelf barricade won't stop a bullet. We will cover the specific tactics for urban evasion and vertical escape routes in the next module. But you have to get there first. If you haven't secured your spot in the full curriculum, do it now. The window is closing. The grid is fragile. But remember this. The walls kept the monsters out for a week. But eventually, you have to open the door. The question is, when you step out into the hallway, will you be the prey or will you be the predator? Stay silent, stay hidden, and keep your bathtub full. You survived the simulation. Now survive the reality. Equip yourself at the official supply depot. Because if the world is going to end, you might as well look prepared.